I just got three things to say. God bless our troops. God bless America. And gentlemen, start your engine!
All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go from Road America. David Garman and Kyle Holden on the front row. That'll be an interesting battle up front. Jesse Gordon, Mark Dantuma have the second row. Mark Nelson, Richie Joplin on the third row. Austin Ruskoff, Nicole Creasel on the fourth row. Stephen Gibson, Zach Henson, and Austin Habel round out the field. Well, Kevin, one-handed here would be tricky. Somebody out there is burning up all their gas at the moment. Zach Henson did take to the grid. Stephen Gibson has not. Now Gibson is on the grid. Everybody's locked and ready. Kyle Holden put it in R for race, but went backwards. You could switch your shifting over to buttons, Kevin. Or if you got dual paddles on the back of your wheel. Alright, here we go. Out of the final turn. They'll head up the hill. Pace car getting ready to dive to pit road. There he goes. Garmin leads them up. Over the hill they come. Green flag is in the air there, down and away at Road America. Garmin gets a good jump, gets to the left side to set up for turn one. A little bit of side-by-side back behind. Nicole goes wide, but she saves it, gets it back on track. Jesse Gordon on the attack right behind. Kyle Holden and David Garman look like he had a bit of a run out of turn two. Mark Dantuma right behind. Big checkup into the left-hander. Garmy goes wide. Oh no! We've got Austin Habel off track. David Garman fell back into fourth. And let's see if we can see what happened with Austin. Well, we'll wait till the end of the first lap. As Garman gets a little out of shape on the power. Stephen Gibson back in seventh, already up 2 spots. Richie Joplin starting to fade a little bit early. It is a bit of a surprise. Richie was saying during the pre-race how excited he was to run this car at this track. Oh, Richie's off and he's into the tire. Ouch. We mentioned the brakes are not great here tonight. we've got a lot of events on lap 1 to take a look at, as Kyle Holden comes over the top to lead lap 1. Let's take a look at some of the lap 1 incidents. There's a big lockup up ahead of Austin Habel. Oh, and he comes wide, goes across Stephen Gibson's nose. Stephen Gibson has a problem too a few moments later. Way overshoots into the dirt. Austin Ruskoff back behind. He just locks him up. Does go through the dirt, but manages to hold on to it. Richie Joplin back behind. Oh, big slam through the kink. That is likely why he had trouble in the next turn. Hit that left front like a ton of bricks and may have broke the steering arm. And there it is. He locks it up and slams the tire wall. Jesse Gordon has taken the lead here and checked out from Kyle Holden. Looks like Holden may have had a problem a moment ago. Let's see what happened with Kyle Holden a moment ago that cost him the lead. Jesse Gordon a little wide back behind as Holden comes uphill into the left-hander, and it looked like he locked the brakes as he came around, goes way wide into the dirt, recovers but loses a lot of ground. Stephen Gibson also had a problem a moment later, just a bit too wide into the grass, and comes too wide out on the grass. And Austin Ruskoff also had a problem. Oh, locks him up into the turn. Does keep it out of the tire wall, just barely. I have to say, it is interesting. I have noticed so far, when they lock them brakes up, it is always the left rear tire locking. Look like David Gorman and Mark D'Antuma both went a little wide down at the bottom, and Austin Habel has had a problem. There's Austin coming down the front straightaway toward turn 1. Locks it up. It's the right rear that locks up this time. Through the sand, he gets it turned and limps it back to the track. David Gorman has fought his way back to third, trying to close the gap on second place. Kyle Holden. Holden is closing in on Jesse Gordon as well. Mark D'Antuma still lurking back in fourth. Mark Nelson in fifth. Zach Henson in sixth. Austin Habel in seventh. Stephen Gibson in eighth. Nicole Creasel back in ninth. Drifty Richie in 10th. Austin Ruskoff back in 11th. Both Stephen Gibson and Austin Ruskoff have come to pit road, as has Richie. All those drivers, it appears, have used their repairs. Hey, good evening, David. How are you? Last time by, Kyle Holden lost some ground in second. Jesse Gordon now 2.3 seconds in the lead. Kyle had gotten to less than a second behind Jesse, but it appears Holden had some problems and lost some ground. Well, Jesse definitely pushing the track limits. But as much as we're seeing Jesse sliding around out here, he is the only driver in the field that has not had an off track. I stand corrected, there is one other driver that has not had an off track yet, Zach Henson, back in 6th. Remember, Henson did not qualify, started in 10th, has already marched his way to 6th by keeping it on the track. Jesse Gordon still out front by 2.25 seconds over Kyle Holden. David Gorman in third, 2.7 seconds behind Holden. He is closing in a little bit wide. Out of the final turn, keeps his foot in it, heads up the hill. That did allow Dan Tuma to reel him in just a little bit. Mark Nelson right behind. We've got a battle from third on back. We've already seen several drivers having trouble in turn 1. All 3 of those drivers do manage to make it through. Austin Habel had a problem a moment ago. Austin headed toward the carousel, just overshoots the turn. Does get the tire wall, scratches the right side up, but he keeps her rolling. And Kyle Holden has had a big problem. Kyle Holden in second place had been he clipped the grass as he came up the hill. Wow, that was close, because there comes Gorman, Dan Tuma, and Nelson. Take a look at this from a different angle, see if we can see it look like he just barely clipped the grass as he came over, got on the brakes, and that was all she wrote, went sliding around. You can see the brake lights on these cars already glowing red. Kevin Reed was kind enough to write us the verse to a new song. They glow, it's off the track I go. You can tell those brakes really starting to give up the ghost. David Gorman, who's now in second, just set the fastest lap of the night, 2 minutes 12.56. He is just under 5 seconds behind Jesse Gordon, but he is closing quickly. Kyle Holden in third, Mark Nelson in fourth, Mark Dan Tuma in fifth, Zach Henson up 4 spots into sixth. Richie Joplin and Austin Habel have had a problem. Whoa, hold on to her, Zach. Zach is closing in on the cars ahead at the moment. He is 8.2 seconds behind Dan Tuma, but he is closing. And he has been keeping the car on the track better than the rest of the field. There's Richie Joplin coming down that long back straightaway. On the brakes, you see the brakes glowing. Left side slams into the wall. He keeps it pointed the right way. Then a moment later, Austin Habel coming through the kink, just overshoots the kink, slams into the outside wall, but keeps his foot in it. Nicole, that's what she said. Creasel back behind, misses her braking point, slides out, just barely kisses that outside wall. Well, we have seen a lot of shakeups over the last few laps. A lot of drivers having problems keeping it on the track, and right now, Jesse Gordon has only gotten 2 off track so far, but Zach Henson in 6th, only been off track 1 time. Zach now about 6 seconds behind Mark Dantuma and closing. Zach is not running the fastest laps out there, but every lap has been consistent. And every lap he inches closer to the front. Kevin, I think that's what the drivers suspected, that their regular brakes had been swapped for smart car brakes. They were definitely having their hands full here tonight. There you see the glow from the brakes as Jesse Gordon comes around the turn. David Garman in second, still about 5 seconds back. Kyle Holden in third, about 2.5 seconds behind Garmy. Mark Nelson is now up into fourth. Mark Dantuma still holds fifth. Zach Henson in sixth, continues to close in. In fact, last time by, Zach Henson was faster than everybody in the top 5 except for third place, Kyle Holden. Austin Habel now up into ninth. That just came by Austin Ruskoff in 10th. The Austins have been back and forth a little bit over the last few laps. Austin Habel had an off track a moment ago, allowed Ruskoff to gain some more ground on him. Now, everybody is within their fuel window. They can pit here and go the distance. But we likely will see about the halfway point about lap 15 or 15 to go. We'll likely see the most of the field in around then. Jesse pulled a little bit of ground that time by. He now has a 5.1 second lead on Garmin. Kyle Holden has lost some ground, about 4 seconds back now. Mark Nelson about 3 seconds behind him. Dan Tuma in 5th. About 5.5 seconds more back, and Zach Henson had a problem. He has lost a lot of ground. There's Henson coming toward turn 1. Oh, very wide and through the dirt in turn 1. He manages to hold onto it, but that cost him quite a bit of time. Nicole Kriesel is on pit road. It is likely Nicole is needing some repairs. She has had a couple of incidents here tonight. Austin Ruskoff has had a problem. There's Austin, goes a little bit across. He gets it back up on track. Then a few moments later, Austin just gets a little too wide through the carousel. He does get it back on track. But then a couple seconds later, going through the kink, he goes way wide. He does keep it out of the wall. That was a bumpy lap for Austin. Jesse Gordon continues to hold the lead by about 5 seconds. Kyle Holden in 3rd has gained no ground on Garmin. Mark Nelson in 4th, still about 4.8 seconds back. Mark Dantuma in 5th, about 5.2 seconds back and gaining. Zach Henson was gaining a lot of ground on Dantuma, but since that incident, it appears he's backed off the pace. He is now almost 11 seconds behind. Yeah, Kevin, I did hear, as Kevin mentioned, he said the handling appears to be going downhill. Heard a lot of the drivers say you only get a couple of good laps on the tires, then they feel worse than they did when they were cold, and the car is just an utter handful. Jesse Gordon still out front, now starting to encounter lap traffic. It's definitely going to help second place David Garmin. Garmin definitely pushing it, trying to close back up on the leader. Kyle Holden in 3rd, sits about 4.7 seconds back. He has pulled a little bit of a gap on Mark Nelson. Now 6.25 seconds. Mark Dantuma now 7.5 seconds back. And Zach Henson in 6th, 9.5 seconds back. He is starting to move forward again. Stephen Gibson back in 7th. Richie Joplin holds on to 8th for the moment. Austin Abel in 9th. And Austin Ruskoff in 10th. Nicole Kriesel back in 11th, 1 lap down due to her early pit stop. Ruskoff goes wide to let Jesse Gordon by. You can see those brakes glowing, big red here. Only 1 or 2 spots on the track where they really get an opportunity to cool off. Jesse closing in on the lap car of Austin Abel. Jesse catches them before they get to the turn. And Nicole around right there at the turn. Coming down that long straightaway into that right-hander, you're carrying a lot of speed. As we said, the drivers really got to brake hard, but you brake a little too hard. That's what happens. The back end just steps out. Jesse Gordon has started pulling away. David Garman now 6 seconds back. It is a bit of a surprise. For the longest time, Garman was the dominant force in BRR road racing. It is a surprise to see him back in second place, not out here leading, as Kyle Holden and Zach Henson have both had problems. There's Holden coming down into turn 1. Brakes glowing red. He just goes wide. Gets it going once again. Then a few moments later, Zach Henson heads down into turn 1 as well. Zach way wide. Kyle Holden back in third has had quite a charge. Coupled with Garman having a problem a moment ago, he is now just 1.3 seconds back in third. Jesse Gordon still has a big buffer out front, 6.5 seconds. Holden is coming in a little bit earlier than what we were expecting, but this will be the first stop of the night. I should clarify, it's the first regularly scheduled stop of the night. We've obviously had quite a few cars already on pit road for repairs. Don't forget, folks, it is a doubleheader night. Right after this, we will have the SMR X Series at Circuit of the Americas. They are running the West Circuit, like we saw with Home Motorsports on Thursday. And with that big field they have every week, things are going to get bumpy. Zach Henson, despite the problem we saw a moment ago, is now up in the top 5. And he is currently, whoa! He way overshot. I was about to say he's currently the fastest car in the top 5. He has towed it in. Take another look at this one. Coming down the hill into the 90-degree left-hander. He was hard on the brakes, but you just saw as soon as he got off, could not get the thing stopped, and he tows it in. Well, folks, you definitely want to follow us on YouTube, because we're going to have a lot of great replays from tonight's race, and I'm sure from the SMR race tomorrow. Plus, we'll be putting out a lot of new shorts this week, trucking shorts, racing shorts. Even some stuff from Sniper Elite, and we'll be working on some motocross shorts from yesterday. And later in the week, we'll be working on a very special video for you folks from yesterday afternoon. We had a little bit of a troll in the comments. We're going to let you guys see all of it. Jesse Gordon's lead holding about 6 seconds. Garmin in second. Mark Nelson now in third. Mark Dantuma in fourth. Kyle Holden now up into fifth. As Zach Henson has retired, as has Stephen Gibson and Nicole Kriesel. Kevin, I did have a lot of fun with the troll yesterday, I will say that. Jesse Gordon's lead is starting to shrink as he comes into pit road. Garmin's going to stay. No, Garmin's coming in. Will either of the Marks come in this time? Mark Nelson is staying out. Mark Dantuma choosing to stay out as well. Richie Joplin is also on pit road. That is true, Kevin. Mark Nelson, Mark Dantuma have stayed out. Kyle Holden on fresh rubber just set the fastest lap. And look who's right on his bumper. David Gorman right there with him. Oh, Gorman gets squirrely. Manages to save it, but did lose a lot of ground and momentum. Mark Nelson continues to lead. Mark Dantuma 14.25 seconds back. Jesse Gordon currently in third after his pit stop. Kyle Holden in fourth is starting to reel him back in though. Coming to pit road. Jesse had a 6-second lead. That is now down to just under 4 seconds as Holden starts trying to reel him back in. Garmin back in fifth now, 3 seconds behind Holden. I suspect that'll change before long. Once he has some heat in those tires, we're likely to see Garmin charge. Mark Nelson continuing to stay out, as is Dantuma. Dantuma now 12.8 seconds ahead of Jesse Gordon. The top two right now trying to put some space between them and third before coming to pit road. Jesse Gordon back in third on fresh tires is starting to pull closer to Dantuma. Holden back in fourth also on fresh tires. Now about 3.7 seconds behind Jesse. David Garmin about 4.25 seconds back in fifth. Garmin is starting to make up some ground a little bit at a time. Austin Ruskoff in sixth. Richie Joplin in seventh. He is 11.4 seconds back. Austin Habel in eighth. And looks like only 8 drivers remain. Mark Nelson continuing to stay out. Dantuma also continues to stay out. Meanwhile, Jesse Gordon is on a march. Jesse now just 8.7 seconds behind Dantuma. He just set the fastest lap of the race to 11.94. Making Jesse the only driver under the 2:12 mark. Jesse has definitely got something figured out with his car. He is finding all the speed out here. Mark Nelson out front has about a 16.5-second lead at the moment. He's likely going to lose that lead on pit road unless he does a fuel-only stop. That would be a gutsy call. But Nelson is continuing to pull away from Dan Tuma, but the fresh tires of Jesse Gordon are on the move. Oh! A little bit wide for Jesse, but no harm, no foul. Same for Kyle Holden back behind. Oh, and David Garman, we said he was going to start charging. He has gained he is up to 3.8 seconds behind Holden. The last couple laps, Garman has been faster. Dan Tuma is on pit road. Mark Nelson still on track. And Austin Habel had a problem. He has towed it in. There's Austin Habel. A little squirrely, then through the grass. Does quickly recover it. Then a few moments later, we saw the same thing with Zach. Oh my goodness. That was a hit. That was a brutal hit. Jesse Gordon in second, now 23.9 seconds back. Remember, Mark Nelson out front still has to make his pit stop. He's got a couple of strategy moves he could pull here. Hey, good evening, Russell. How are you? And Mark Nelson finally brings it in. Will he try a gutsy fuel-only stop here? Jesse Gordon coming through the final turn in second. Mark is yet to hit his pit stall. Across the start-finish line, Jesse will take the lead as Mark Nelson hits his stall. He has taken 4 tires. Mark Nelson on his way out. Looks like he will hold on to 4th. Austin Ruskoff is on pit road. Russell, how you been, buddy? I haven't heard from you in a while. Jesse Gordon's lead is starting to shrink. Kyle Holden 2.5 seconds back, and Garman not far from him either. Garman lost a little bit of time on the last lap. He's now about 4 seconds back. As we saw, right after his pit stop, he can gain a second a lap when he pushes it. Ruskoff still on pit road. Looks like Pit stop has been completed. He may have a penalty here. Jesse giving everything he's got to get his gap on Kyle Holden just a little bigger. I just double checking my notes. This is actually Jesse Gordon's first ever start in BRR competition. If he can hold Kyle Holden off for another 11 seconds, he could get a win in his debut race. John Ross pulled that same trick earlier in the season, winning his debut race. But Jesse Gordon's really going to have to push it. Kyle Holden is closing in. David Garman appears to have been a little slow on that last lap. He actually lost half a second to Holden. He's now 4.5 seconds back, and does look like the car is having some problems getting the power down. Dirt and debris flying everywhere as Kyle Holden tries to reel him in. As Kyle comes through the final turn, let's take a lap around Road America with Kyle as they cross the top of the hill and go across the start-finish line down toward turn 1. Into turn 1, down through the gears. Back on the power, heading toward turn 2, a little bit of a downhill. Very sharp right-hander, easy to overshoot exit. Then full power as they head downhill toward the first left-hand turn. We've seen a lot of drivers go off in this next turn. There it is. Downshifting all the way down to first gear on the power and back up the hill. Couple of quick left-right turns, then a sweeping left as they head into the carousel. Through the carousel, trying to carry as much speed without sliding out. Ease onto the power as they exit, headed toward the kink where we have seen a lot of guys go off here tonight. Through the kink as wide as you dare. Heading down into that hard 90-degree right-hand turn. Don't go off in the sand. Back on the power, a slight uphill through the S. Then the final right-hand turn, and on the powerful send up the hill. And back across the start-finish line. Holden did that lap in 2:12.31 and closed on Jesse Gordon, now just 1.3 seconds behind. Garmin back in third, surprisingly, continues to lose a little ground on the top two. He's now 6.5 seconds back. I suspect there's a glitch in the matrix. Mark Nelson coming in fourth and currently running in fourth, came in tonight first in points. Double D is not here. That's going to help Richie Joplin. Gerald Poole not in the car tonight. And with Kyle Holden currently running in second, Kyle could jump way up the points tonight. This will be Holden's sixth race of the season. This is sixth start of the season. There have been 8 races so far. And Kyle Holden already has 3 wins. He is right on Jesse's bumper, but can he find a way by? Lap car of Austin Ruskoff just ahead is going to come into play. Austin shoots down to the inside. Both of the leaders get by. Kyle right on his bumper. It's going to be interesting to see how Holden will make the move here tonight. Last time by, Garmin started to crank it up. He's starting to close in a little bit here and there. If these two start battling up front, Garmin could get there quickly. Here we go, Holden down the hill. Into the left-hander, Jesse Gordon had nothing for him. Kyle Holden to the lead for the first time. Richie Joplin coming down the hill, currently in 6th. Richie, another one who's going to have a big points night here tonight. Holden looks a little squirrely through the carousel this time. Jesse staying right on him. The pass for the lead was so quick, Garmin did not gain much ground. He still sits about 7 seconds back. Mark Dantuma currently holds on to 5th. Richie Joplin in 6th, gaining no ground on Dantuma at the moment. Mark Dantuma not gaining any ground on Mark Nelson, but the points leader sits in 4th and is gaining no ground on the top 3. Don't forget, folks, stick around. After this race, we'll hop over for SMR's X Series at Circuit of the Americas. A lot of your favorite drivers from here will be in that fight, including Jesse Gordon, Mark Dantuma, Richie Joplin, and of course, Austin Ruskoff. Kyle Holden coming back through the carousel. Last time we saw that back end really twitch, and looks like he backed it off a little bit. It is so easy to overdrive the carousel here. We've seen many a driver do it. It's also easy to overdrive that kink, which we've seen multiple times here tonight. That outside fence is not your friend. The top two continuing to check out. They've got about a 10-second lead now on David Garman. And Mark Nelson in fourth has started to reel Garman back in. He's 25 seconds behind. He's going to need a miracle to get there in the next 5.5 laps. But if this race so far has taught us anything, it's that anything can and usually will happen. Austin Ruskoff back in 7th. Richie Joplin in 6th. Mark Dantuma currently in 5th. Mark Nelson in 4th. Garman back in 3rd. Last time by, Mark Nelson was 1.2 seconds faster than Garman. It may be too little too late for Mark Nelson, though. He's running short on laps, and he has a lot of time to close. Kyle Holden out front has a 1-second lead on Jesse Gordon. Jesse's still within striking distance. Holden can definitely not afford to make a mistake. Oh, a little smoke from Jesse Gordon and a little bobble on the power from Kyle Holden. Jesse definitely, holy cow, hold on to her, Jesse. He clipped the grass just enough for that car to get a little out of shape, kept his foot in it. We'll see what David Garman and Mark Nelson's lap times are this time by. Garman cranked it up that lap of 2:12.93. Mark Nelson coming up the hill, but I don't think Mark has any chance left after that lap. Mark's lap of 2:14.91. Garman almost a full 2 seconds faster. As speaking of faster, Richie Joplin just set his fastest lap of the night, 2:14.12. I told you guys at pre-race, Drifty Richie loves this car and this track. Kyle Holden has started to pull some space between him and Jesse, now 1.9 seconds. Garmin is at the moment faster than Jesse Gordon, but he is 9.8 seconds back. He's going to have to be a lot faster. Kyle Holden leads across the line, 4 laps to go. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, and the YouTubes. We have got a lot of YouTube shorts out there to keep you guys entertained and a lot more coming this week. Kyle Holden is now pulled out a 2 1/4 second lead over Jesse. Garmin is gaining, but not by much. He gained about 3/10 on the last lap. At the moment, unless something catastrophic happens, you're looking at what your top 5 will be: Kyle Holden, Jesse Gordon, David Garmin, Mark Nelson, and Mark Dantuma. Also worth noting at this point, Mark Nelson has the fewest off tracks. He has only had 2 so far. Hey, good evening, Kenny. David Garmin has had a problem. He is going to pit road. He is apparently out of the race. Let's see what happened. Looks like through the carousel, onto the power, off into the dirt and grass, back across the track, on the brakes. He keeps it out of the wall. But wow, what a setback. He towed it in. His night might be over. That'll bump Mark Nelson up into 3rd. Mark Dantuma up into 4th. Richie Joplin with 3 laps to go should be able to get into the top 5. Kyle Holden's lead steady at about 2.3 seconds over Jesse Gordon. Mark Nelson in 3rd. Mark Dantuma in 4th. David Garmin still scored in 5th. Richie Joplin, though, should be able to take that top 5 spot. Jesse is wickedly wide, but holds on to her, and Austin Ruskoff has had a problem. Ruskoff way wide through that turn into the grass and goes around. Richie Joplin does get by, and Ruskoff can finally get her out of the way. Kenny, how are you doing tonight, buddy? Two laps to go for Kyle Holden. Hey, good evening, the official Herb. Welcome. Holden's lead about 2.1 seconds. Jesse gained a little bit of ground on the last one. Kevin, they do look a little bit cumbersome. We're definitely with this next-gen car seeing some different lines through a lot of these turns than what we would see in the previous generation Cup car and what we would see in Xfinity or trucks here. And Jesse is hanging it all out. It is paying off. He's now just 1.8 seconds behind Holden. Kyle Holden heads up the hill. White flag is in the air one more time around. Jesse Gordon continued. Oh! He lost it through the first turn and lost so much ground. Jesse Gordon was about 1.5 seconds back at the end of the front straightaway, but on the brakes, the back end steps out. He slides through the grass. He lost his shot at the win. It looked like Jesse Gordon had this thing wrapped up in the early going. But Kyle Holden has fought his way to the front. As he heads down the straightaway through the kink one last time, he has a 4.25 second lead over Jesse. Jesse's still hanging it all out. And Jesse has pushed that car to its absolute limits. The team likely going to have to build him a whole new car after tonight. And out of the final final turn, Kyle Holden heads up the hill, and he'll do it again. Kyle Holden wins at Road America. Jesse Gordon had a problem through the final turn. He comes up the hill. He will hold on to finish second. And Mark Nelson will come home in third. As he heads up the hill, let's talk to our top three. Mark, a very valiant effort to come home in third tonight, buddy.
That's for sure. I'm exhausted and ready for a supper.
I can imagine. That looked like a lot to handle tonight. The car just not cooperating as well as you'd want.
Yeah, basically a brick on wheels for sure, but I am pretty proud of the effort. I only have one incident point based on things I did wrong, so I think everyone else has quite a few more.
Well, of everybody on track tonight, you had the lowest number of off tracks at 2, so that is definitely one heck of an accomplishment after watching this race.
Yeah, I agree. Thanks, Doug. It was a lot of concentration and just didn't have enough pace, but I decided I might as well try to keep it as clean as possible.
Well, you definitely got the job done, man. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Jesse Gordon coming home in second. Jesse, man, you definitely made Kyle work for it. I thought you had this thing locked up early on.
Yeah, I felt like I did too, and it's not like I was taking it easy or anything. I was running consistent 212s. I even ran a 211 once, and was just trying to obviously conserve as much tire, but run consistent laps and fast laps. And I don't know, somehow, some way, he was still able to catch me and make the pass and still have enough tire somehow. I mean, the last 3 or so laps, 4 laps towards the end there, we were running identical lap times, but I can't gain any progress on them. And when I try to, I would make a mistake or something. So
yeah, we saw you were gaining a lot of time on him with 2 to go. We saw how much you had that car hanging out coming through the kink, but that turn 1 on the last lap, that was the deal breaker.
Yeah, it hadn't done that all race, and I was not doing anything egregious. It just, when I was downshifting, all of a sudden it just kind of downshifted weird and it got into like wheel hop and then just spun me. So, yeah, all in all, I mean, I felt like I was pretty fast and consistent, didn't make too many mistakes, and everybody else kind of did, and I was hoping that I would be able to capitalize.
Well, man, a great job, a great finish. Congratulations.
All right, thank you.
And finally, our winner, Kyle Holden. Kyle, back in victory lane. It just kind of seems like you're home away from home.
Yeah, it was a good race. Took me a long time to figure out what brake bias I wanted to use. I kept spinning out because of it. And we finally got a good one, and we were somehow able to catch I forget his name. I think it's Jason or Jeremy.
Jesse.
Jesse, that's it. And, it was a wild race. I had said it to him. I was like, man, that was one of the coolest passes I ever made.
It was definitely a gutsy pass, but how worried were you with about 3 to go when he started gaining on you rapidly?
Yeah, he started gaining I was sliding my tires a lot, and I was, oh, man, I better take it a little bit easy here, otherwise I might not get it. But he was catching there, and I was a little bit worried, so I tried to push it just enough to where I'd keep it on track, but it was pretty close.
Well, man, a great job, another great win, and a big help in the points once again. Congratulations.
Appreciate it, Doug.
Well, Kyle Holden gets the win. Richie, yes, you did make it to the end, buddy. Great job, and I know how much you love this car and track. Guys, stick around. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be back in just a few moments. SMR X Series is on track tonight at Circuit of the America. Stick around, everybody.